Hello, foodie friends. So I went down on a little tiny rabbit hole today, and one of my subscribers had commented on last week's video about our sugar jumbles, and she was listing all the different ones that you could make, and she also found the origin of sugar jumbles, which was a 1950 Betty Crocker cookbook. And I thought that was really cool, and I commented back, and then I got to thinking about it, and it dawned on me that my grandmother had several Betty Crocker cookbooks in her collection. One of them, lucky for us, just so happened to be the 1950 edition that subscriber had mentioned. So I looked it up, and sure enough, here are sugar jumbles. But here's the odd thing about it. This is a cookie. So in this recipe book, we have sugar jumbles listed as a drop cookie, which means, you just scoop it up with a teaspoon and drop it onto your cookie pan. And then it has several different variations that sound really good on this one cookie. And so I got to thinking, why would the newspaper, or why would Madge had put in the newspaper that it was actually baked in loaves instead of the actual cookies? And I looked at the recipe, and she did actually change some of it. She's the one that added the sour milk or buttermilk, as I put in there, to the recipe in order to make it, I guess, more bakeable in the loaf pans. And I believe she actually added a little bit more flour to it. So she did change this to suit her needs instead of actually making it into the cookie, which I thought was fascinating because I'm almost wondering, cookies do kind of take a long time. You're having to put them on your cookie sheet. You have to bake them. I only bake them one, sheet at a time to make sure that they're all baked evenly. And so you're kind of having to watch them, really closely, and then, putting in your other sheet, and then, you're doing the whole process, right? And you usually have to do this several times, especially if it makes like a lot of batter. So my thinking is, she just did not have time for that with 3 children in the house and probably a bunch of other stuff that she was having to do in 1955. And I'm guessing she took this recipe and thought, you know what? I'm just going to put this in loaf pans. I'm going to stick it in the oven for about 40 minutes so I can kind of forget about it, pull it out, and it's one and done. So I kind of like her thinking on that. It was a cool little trick that she did. So that I thought was really fun. I think we're going to look at some of these in some episodes later and maybe incorporate some of these other jumbles in here. They sound really good. They also, the ones that my subscriber commented also sounded really good. So I'm going to be looking those up and maybe doing those in some future episodes, and we'll see how it goes. I probably will leave them just as the cookies though, instead of doing the whole loaf pan. But good on Madge for figuring out how to make those jumbles faster so she didn't really have to put a whole lot of work into it. I like that. So for this week's episode, we're going to go back to our new Delineator cookbook, but this time we're going to look at some of the recipes that are here, handwritten in the margins. Now, some of these are really difficult to read. I do know cursive. I write in cursive. And, when I went to school, we did, start cursive training very early. However, some of these handwritings were really hard to decipher. So I landed on the one recipe where I could definitely read every single ingredient just so we wouldn't have a cooking disaster on our hands. So we're gonna go ahead and make them and find out why they were this person's particular favorite. So let's go ahead and look through a few more little clippings and then we'll start cooking. And welcome again to my kind of messy craft room where I'm going to show you a few more things inside this really cool cookbook. So here you can see the recipes that I had to choose from when I decided to do something from the covers. And here we have the one we're doing today, my favorite hotcakes. And there's her list of ingredients and how to put it together. And I think that is so cool that we're able to do a recipe from somebody who put this in the margins so long ago. We don't actually know when. Like I said before, this cookbook was published in 1929, so this could have been any time between then and now. But I also wanted to show you, and I don't think, oh, this actually might be the same handwriting. The C's actually look really similar, and so do the M's right here. So here she's created a luncheon menu, and she decided to, now let's see if I can actually make this out. I probably should have, again, had my mom read it. She probably could have deciphered this immediately. But we have chili meatloaf. We have mashed potatoes with grated cheese. That sounds really good. We have cabbage and carrot salad with pepper ring and radish garnish. Okay, so I did actually read that. I know what she's talking about on that one. Served on lettuce leaf with French dressing. She also served a caramelized apple pie with vanilla ice cream. Hot rolls and coffee. This actually sounds really good. I would eat everything in there. I also really enjoyed this one. She was doing something, probably, you know, I imagine for a bridal shower, wedding shower, you know, something like that. We've got 4 pounds of meat. She's got a gallon of apples, 1.5 pounds of butter, 4 cans of peas. So she's really going for large amounts to feed a lot of people. But my favorite part, the prices. 4 cans of peas. I don't know if you can really make this out. Let me see if I can get a little closer here. 4 cans of peas, 60 cents. Lettuce, 2 heads, I'm assuming, 20 cents. Let's see what else we have here. Milk, 1 quart, 12 cents. Can you believe that? And here's another one of my favorites. We have 8 o'clock coffee, 3 pounds of it, 35 cents. And then she's got down here like her totals for how much all of this food was going to cost her. We also, on this other side right here, here's a list of names. I'm assuming these are the names of the women that she was actually going to invite to whatever little shindig she was having. And now this one, I wish I could read all of this to you because it sounds, it's kind of bad, but it also sounds kind of hilarious. Because you can see actually most of the article has been cut off. But apparently, and I'll try to get all of it in the frame, so if you want to pause it and read, and try to read at least most of it. But apparently there was a doctor, another man, and 2 women, and one woman hit the other woman, and the other one got mad and jealous and stabbed the doctor in the leg over some kind of whatever fight they were all having. And so they're apparently going to see some kind of jail time. One of them was arrested, and this, though, was the reason why this is my favorite. When asked if he and Miss Ware, the woman who stabbed him, were sweethearts, Dr. Depew replied, "Well, more or less." I love that line. So we have a man stabbed, and he's still saying, well, more or less. I'm guessing it's a little less now after the stabbing, but who knows if they stayed together. I would love to. I may try really hard. This particular one had no date, and it didn't actually say what newspaper it was from. I'm assuming the Knoxville News Sentinel, but you know, you never know what other little newspapers might have made their way into this cookbook. But I'm going to try to find it. If I do, I will definitely make an update video about what happened between Miss Ware and Dr. Depew.
And now we'll get started by going ahead and melting our 2 tablespoons of shortening. Once it's done melted, go ahead and set it to the side and let it start cooling down. Now we'll place our eggs in a bowl and go ahead and whisk slightly to break up the yolk. Then we'll start putting together the actual batter. So first, go ahead and put all your wet ingredients in a bowl. And that will just be your milk, your cooled down shortening, and your eggs. Stir that all together. And then in a separate bowl, we'll move on to our dry ingredients. So for this, you're going to whisk together your flour, your salt, your baking powder, and yes, that is 4 teaspoons, and your sugar. I was hoping the baking powder wasn't a typo, but no, that's in there to make them really nice and fluffy. Now you're going to go ahead and add your dry to wet and give that a good mix. I felt like it was a little bit too stiff of a dough, so I added just a little more milk to make it a little bit more pourable. And now, because I almost threw my back out halfway through this cooking process, here's where things got a little weird. I went ahead and sprayed my skillet and then put in some of the batter, but I found that it actually did need some oil in the pan. So we just put some canola in there. We'll chalk this up to not seeing straight through the pain of a seized up muscle. But they still puffed up beautifully and cooked to a gorgeous golden brown. Next, I threw in some sausages on the pan and then laid flat on the floor for a little bit while Mitch did some of the cleanup for me and most of the behind the scenes work. Once they were done cooking, it was time to plate up. And after seeing how they came out of the skillet, I was really excited to try these. And of course, it would not be a cookbook collector channel if we didn't slather it in some butter. And yes, this is the really good Amish butter I get from the Mennonite store. We added our sausage links after drowning it in syrup. I added some raspberries, poured my orange juice, and we were ready for a spectacular breakfast.
Okay, we've got them done, finally. This is going to be a little bit of a different style of video because I almost threw my back out while making these things. I don't know what I did, but I'm kind of in pain right now, and I couldn't really switch the camera around to like several different angles like I usually do. So thank goodness this is a really simple recipe.
Yeah, it wasn't because of the recipe that you threw your back out.
No, it was I don't know what I did. Probably just bent over wrong. I don't know. That's
twisted funny.
Yeah, that's how it usually goes now, I guess. So let's go ahead and try them because they're not what we expected, and we were a little worried halfway through making these things.
They're definitely thicker than a pancake.
Yeah, so let's find out what this is. Oh, let's just chalk this up to as a lesson learned. Always trust the process. You know, we had doubts. We looked at this and we were like, this batter doesn't look right.
It's thick.
It's not going to cook right. It's not going to be good. And then you get this result and then you try it. So now it's become my favorite flapjack.
Like, I don't know if I can go back to just a regular pancake.
I know. I don't think I can either.
I like it. Like, it's fluffier. You know what I mean? Like, it's not, you don't get that dense. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, pancakes are good. But when you had it, like, it's just that texture on this is, like, so much better. It kind of absorbs more of the syrup. So you get, like, you can kind of, like, play with that a little bit to your own taste. You know, how sweet do you want it kind of thing. But it's, I really like it. Like, it's pleasantly surprising.
With raspberries, oh my gosh, it's so good.
I'm going to withhold myself until...
I'm not kidding. This is... I can see why whoever wrote that put my favorite flapjack.
Yeah.
Because it really is incredible. Like I said, when we saw how thick they were, we're like, oh, no, let it.
Yeah.
Just let it be like this.
Let it stay pretty thick.
So good.
Yeah.
Now, that means you might have to leave it in your skillet for a little bit longer than you would a traditional pancake, just to make sure the middle is cooked through. Oh my gosh, though. But
maybe turn your temperature down a little bit.
Yeah, maybe turn your temperature down a little bit and let it sit there for a little bit longer. But that middle, oh, it's such a soft pillow of dough. And just, oh, it's so good. So yeah, we found a new favorite.
Yeah,
we're going to be, if we, want pancakes again, this is probably going to be the one that we hit up.
This is our go-to.
Now, let's try this because... Now, obviously, we didn't make it handmade, but it is a veggie sausage from Aldi, and I'm just curious. That's the oddest flavor. Okay, I immediately thought marinara sauce with meatballs. Isn't that what it tastes like?
It definitely has like a meatball flavor to it.
Yeah, and a little bit of thyme stuffing in a turkey, a Thanksgiving turkey.
Yeah, stuffing, turkey stuffing.
That is so weird.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's not bad.
No, it's actually pretty good. Like if you're looking for a more vegan or vegetarian option.
Yeah.
Instead of pork. These are pretty good from Aldi.
Yeah.
I like them. So.
All right.
I'm telling you, this cookbook has been one of my favorites that I've ever purchased.
Yeah.
And let's cross our fingers because going based on rates of global situation that's happening, I'm just not saying like the words because sometimes the Google and YouTube algorithm will pick it up in the speech of your video and categorize you into a different category. And I don't want to get categorized outside of how to and cooking.
Right.
So I'm just not saying it out loud so that, the algorithm doesn't catch me. But keep our fingers crossed that things stay in a downward trajectory because our library, if it does, are saying that they're going to have the library book sale. So we didn't get to last year because Greene County, our rates was...
spiking.
Yeah, it was pretty high.
Yeah.
So hopefully this year's going to be different and we're going to have 2 years worth of library book sale books to be able to go through. And I'm hoping that means the cookbook section is going to be out of this world.
Yeah.
So if it is open, we will be there. And if I see another old cookbook just stuffed full of newspaper clippings, I'm definitely going to grab it so we can do it on the channel because this has been a really fun month and has really brought us some really good recipes.
Yeah.
That I was really surprised at the results. So stay tuned for next week because we're going to go in a little bit of a different track. there were some little pamphlets in here that were saved by previous owners and shoved into this cookbook. So we're gonna look at one of them in particular, sandwiches around the clock. And we're gonna go down a rabbit hole with that one, I feel, because some of the combinations are really scary.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, and some of them look okay. So we're gonna try the okay ones and maybe just leave the scary ones, you know, back to history where they belong, but we'll see. So thanks for watching this one. Really hope you try the Flapjacks. You're gonna love it, and stick around for next week as we do okay sandwiches.
Sounds good.
So see you then. Bye.
And if you like historical cooking and unusual cookbooks, here's 2 more videos you might enjoy. And make sure to like and subscribe for more foodie adventures.